Wow. I'm going to totally deflect the attention off of me. My family's in the back. I wasn't going to cry till the end. What's going on? This is not right. I know, James. Even in the program, it's like Greg gets to go in front of James. No, he's got to go take a flight home. It's like, anyway, here we are. We're gonna have a great time. It actually, as you can tell, family means a ton to me. So it's really, really, really cool to have them in the audience. And frankly, I've put my parents through a lot. So this is hopefully, part of this is making sure that they realize that it's not a total train wreck. Things went okay. I get to speak at the Titan Summit. So here we go. It's been a wild year, and another reason why I'm kind of emotional is because I just had a chance to sort of reflect as I was getting ready for this event, and I'm actually really glad to be able to speak here in this position because I get to try my very best to decode all the speakers who went before me. And so last night, I tried to decode what Deepak said, which, so I read this, and I have no idea what that means. So, but I want to try to wrap it all up and give you a framework that you can use to totally transform your life. Because what I've seen, this is my 5th Titan Summit, which is pretty incredible. What I've seen is I've gotten to know so many of you so well, like really well, probably too well, and I've seen massive exponential growth from so many of you. So much learning, so much practice, so much putting these ideas into principle, from principle into practice. So much hard work, and and before I was like, you know what, 1% gains, 1% gains, 1% gains, a little bit here, a little bit there, let's think about this, let's think about that. I've realized I've started to see a lot of people running up against a ceiling, and I believe that it's time for a breakthrough. And so my talk today is going to be quite different. I'm going in a totally different direction. And the reason why I think we need to go in a very different direction, why we need an actual breakthrough, and why I'm changing the tone and strategy, everything that I'm doing here today is because I really want to push you. I want to push all the people that have been here before, and I want to drag the newcomers as fast as possible along on this journey to save you all a lot of time. And ultimately, we have to make the world a better place. And the reason why we're really fighting around this is because I work really hard to solve a billion-person problem. This is my fundamental purpose and mission in life. It's to solve this billion-person problem. Those of you that have seen me speak before have heard me speak about this. And it's 25, to give you the stats as to where all of this stands right now, it's about 25% of the population has a diagnosed sleeping disorder, which is pretty terrifying. We have 58% of Canadians, 68% of Americans, and global obesity rates skyrocketing, even in countries like Kenya, where we're seeing these problems emerged due to the reasons that we just heard from Eric Edmides in that talk before this. We have 85% of our population, roughly, who doesn't get enough physical activity to prevent a chronic disease. That's not even to be healthy. That's just not to get sick. The numbers came out about a year ago from Jonathan Tremblay's group in Ottawa. For children, it's 4% of girls and 9% of boys get enough physical activity to prevent a chronic disease. And the number that scares me the most, even though it's the number that's the lowest, is mental health. 1 in 5 Canadians have, and worldwide, about 1 in 5 people right now in the Western world and surrounding areas, 1 in 5 people will access the medical system at some point because of a mental health related challenge. And the reason why I'm stumbling over that is because that's a statistic, right? It's 20% of our population will have a mental health challenge at some point in their life, and that's a statistic. So I've had the incredible opportunity this year to travel all over the world, literally, to speak about these and to try to counter them with these ideas of sleeping soundly, eating smarter, moving more, and thinking clearly, the exact polar opposite of those grand epidemics. The idea for the opposite came from Seinfeld. Some of you in the room might be old enough to remember a show called Seinfeld. And there's an episode in Seinfeld where George Costanza does opposite day. I'm not sure if you remember that or not, but it's like he does, he's chronically unemployed, and then he does opposite day, and he gets a job with the Yankees, and his life starts going in a very good direction. So one day I was looking at these billion-person problems. What's the opposite? Well, the opposite is this, the solution, which ultimately ended up as the foundation for the Ripple Effect book, which is in front of you, so you can read that afterwards. But I had the incredible opportunity to travel all over the world to speak about this, and my life has just exploded as a result over this year. It's just been unbelievably, incredibly cool. 200 schools, businesses all over the world. Like, it's just been unbelievably, phenomenally, super cool. Life just going amazingly well. And in September, I had a chance to go speak at a school in Eastern Canada, a college actually, and it was the first day of school, September 4th, right after Labor Day, and all the students from the college came into the gymnasium. There's 2,000 students in this gym. They all came to hear me talk about all of this, about mental health and physical health, and what we need to do to get better and reach our potential. And it was incredible, like 2,000 kids in this gym. Like, it's awesome. I got a chance to speak about this, and 2,000 kids came, and one didn't. One went back to her residence by herself. And she lost her life to suicide during my talk. And I realized that I screwed up very badly. I was calling it my billion-person problem. That's an error. It's an ego play. It's actually one person at a time having an emergency. It's not just mental health. On Friday, I did a talk before I came to the Ritz to check in here, north of the city. And I was talking about, I'm not kidding you, I threw up a picture of Dr. James Rouse's smoothie, like the greens smoothie. And as I did that, a gentleman in the front row right here had a heart attack. And I jumped off the stage, and one other person helped out. And he regained consciousness, and we took care of him until the ambulance came. And that was like just another wake-up call. It's not just physical, it's not just mental. Actually, kind of funny note, he's fine. I heard he's okay. But the organizer's like, we got 10 minutes left. Can you keep going? It's like, sure. So this is easy for me today. Like, I'm struggling, obviously, to get through this because that's emotional for me. But like, that's the world that we're faced in. That was Greg's ego play. That was Greg trying to make an important difference in the world. Instead of remembering it's about creating information that can revolutionize the lives of one person at a time and translating science into something that people can actually use. That is now my mission. I've screwed up. I made a mistake. It's the book in front of you, Transparency Rules Today. You're going to hear all about Greg's mistakes so that we can do things differently and ultimately make the world completely different. And I've been thinking a ton about mental health specifically, but then actually radically optimizing ourselves. Like, how do we really take it to another level? And how do we help this group specifically totally break through their limitations and knowing that you're the highest performing people on the planet. If you're sitting in this room, you are some of the highest performing people on the planet in each of your fields. Any one of you could get up and deliver a Titan Talk. No question, in my mind. So my goal today is to summarize everything that we've heard so far, build a framework, show it to you so we can break through and achieve things we've never achieved before so that we can actually, all of us, have individual impacts with all of the people that we touch in our lives, and that is how we will actually get the world to be a better place for my children, which is ultimately what I'm trying to do as well. So thinking about that radical optimization that we're seeking, the first factor that I came up with is this. It's radical attention. Radical meaning complete and thorough. So we are looking for radical attention. Here's the story around radical attention. By the way that I structure my talks, the way they're going to do things, you're going to get story, science, action, over and over and over again, 4 of them, just to be clear. So the story is this. Here's the slide. A picture that I took, and I know it's black. So about a year ago, Judith and I were having dinner, and as happens, couples have conversations, and ideally if you put your phone away, and we're having a chat, and Judith looks at me and she goes, "So, we need to talk." Okay, so grab a glass of wine, and she's like, "I've got something to tell you. I've been hiding something from you for 8 years." And I just grabbed the bottle in a straight line, right? Like, didn't say anything the whole time. She's like, "So I've been saving up $100 off every paycheck for the last 8 years. It's our 10th anniversary. I know you've always wanted to swim with sharks, and I got you a trip. We're going to go fly to the Indian Ocean and go swimming with sharks. So..." And I'm like, oh man, it's our 10th anniversary. I got to get something. Oh yeah, it's a good reminder. Woo! I'm bad. I'm not that bad. So we fly to the Indian Ocean. We go there, and it's a long flight, and the kids are at home, so like the angels are singing. And we get there, and we arrive in this island. It's the middle. It's getting late in the day, and we arrive and put our stuff away, and we get a chance to go swimming with sharks. And she's like, okay, we're gonna go swimming with sharks. And I'm like, sun's going down, it's dusk, sharks eat at night, maybe tomorrow, so get your scuba gear on, we're going swimming with sharks. I'm like, fantastic, let's go swimming with sharks. So we go, get our gear on, we walk into the ocean, we go down into the ocean, and the instructor takes us down there. It's just absolutely spectacular. It's like stunningly beautiful. We get about about this deep. And we're down and off this incredible island, and we're holding onto a wreck because the current is so strong. And I'm a swimmer, so I love being in the water. So I'm super relaxed. I'm just enjoying everything. Holding onto this rack, and I've got the beach scuba instructor, Judith, me, the deep, holding onto this wreck, and I turn off my flashlight, and I point my GoPro out into the deep and take a picture, which is that picture, and it's pitch black. And I flip my light back on, and there's fish everywhere, right? There's just turtles and a tuna, and Nemo goes by my face, just epically, incredibly, stunningly beautiful. And have you ever had the feeling like someone's watching you? So I feel something over there, which Deepak could explain, but I can't. So, seriously, be like, yeah, of course. Anyway, so I feel something out there, and I point my flashlight out into the deep, and I see a little tiny pinprick of light, which is an eye reflecting back at me. If we could kill the lights, I'll show you what happens next. Six-foot, black tip, reef shark, stunningly beautiful. Thanks, guys. Lights go back on. Stunningly beautiful. I will remember every single detail of that experience for the rest of my life. I forgot about everything else. Judith? Married? Everything was gone. Here's what's really interesting. From the moment that I said, I felt something all the way through that. I was watching you, and I had 100% of your attention. Every single eye is on me. And it's not just polite titans, I've spoken about. You were all here because I had your attention. All of it, because we were talking about this shark. And I believe that the ability to focus our attention on one thing at a time is the way in which we unlock our ability to actually truly experience life at the highest possible level. I will remember every single detail of that experience for the entire rest of my life because I was so locked in on the shark. Everything was locked in on the shark. Everything. And yet, we live in an era of constant, unrelenting distraction from your phones or whatever else, technology, distraction. Today, 3 times, phones have gone off during presentations which took everybody's attention away from what was being said. Please turn off the audio notifications on all of your devices for the rest of your life. Simple solution, right? Honestly. Even worse, I was having dinner at a club in Toronto not too long ago. It was outdoors, patio, it's incredible. Family at the table next to us, mom on the phone. 12-year-old girl comes up to her, to mom, and says, "Mom." Young girl was upset. "Mom! Mom, what?" Never mind. And I'm not perfect, right? I'm the guy that went to the park with Ingrid when she was 3 years old and really into the movie Shrek with my cell phone, and she looked at me and she quoted the princess from Shrek and said, "Daddy, your job is not my problem." This is not Like, I've had bad things too, right? Like, it's not the only one. We're all guilty of this, right? This is Radical Greg Transparency Day as well as Radical Attention Day. Attention determines the quality of your life. We really need to be able to direct and control our attention in an era of constant, unrelenting distraction. In business, with your families, in your training, in your passion, in your art, in your music, we must learn and execute control over our attention. If we can do that, our potential is unlocked. We teach this in sports. You know what's happening next. She's crushing that ball. What would happen if even for a 1/10 of a second, she got distracted by the fact that her mom and dad are in the stands watching her play? Her mind flickers over there. I mean, you saw what it did to me. It was a mess, right? Mom and dad are in the back corner. Gone. It took me 10 minutes. I had to tell stories about other stuff to get my control of myself back again, right? So anyway, you know what's going to happen. Distraction does not equal success. If she gets distracted, she fails, she makes mistakes. Yet we try to do meetings with our phones on the table. We try to have conversations with our spouse while doing something else mentally. We have dinner with our families with technology out on the table. I'm not anti-tech. I'm a huge fan of the fact that you have the entire history of all human knowledge in your pocket. I think that that is super cool. I'm not anti-social media. I think there's tremendous benefits of social media if used properly. The Me Too movement happened on social. As the father of a little girl, I'm super fired up that made the world a safer place for her. That's fantastic. The problem is this. It's intention versus compulsion. If you are compulsively engaging with your devices, that is extremely problematic. If you are intentionally engaging on social, tagging at Dr. Greg Wells about this talk, for example, on Instagram, that's totally great, right? Intention versus compulsion is the game. We need to intentionally engage with technology versus compulsively engage with technology. That is how we can control our attention in this era of constant, unrelenting distraction. I truly believe that that's a simple strategy that you can use to ultimately get control back of your life. And I think that if I look at what happened at that event in the Eastern Canada with the young woman who lost her life to suicide, and by the way, I say lost her life to suicide, not took her life deliberately. There's a nuance there that I want you to contemplate. It's because she lost control. At some point or another, she lost control, or control was taken away from her. And I want us to gain control of our lives back. I actually think that that's the game that we're all playing right now, is taking radical control of our lives through these mechanisms I'm going to show you today. I did that when I was 15. That's a picture of my neck when I was 15 years old. I broke my neck when I was swimming. I was at a training camp in Florida, and a big wave picked me up, dropped me on my head, broke my neck in 3 or 4 places. I was in this lovely halo for 3 months, and then that didn't work, so they did neurosurgery to repair my neck, and on my 16th birthday, I had surgery. I came out of that surgery, and my surgeon, who's incredible, genius woman, looked at me and said, "Greg, you're safe, everything's cool, but you're never going to swim again." I was on the national youth team at the time. My whole identity was wrapped up in making the Olympic team and swimming. And it's like, you're never going to swim again. And in my brain, instantaneously, and I know I'm not supposed to swear, so I won't, but I said, F you. Didn't say it out loud, fortunately. And single thing that I did so I broke my neck in February, surgery in June, physio all summer, back in the water in September, swam until I couldn't swim anymore, on the bike until I couldn't ride the bike anymore, lifting weights until I couldn't lift weights anymore, and then qualified for and swam in Canadian Olympic swimming trials 14 months after that happened. So I mailed that picture to the neurosurgeon, by the way. And I'm not competitive at all. To her credit, she printed it and put it up on the wall at the intensive care unit at Sunnybrook Hospital here in Toronto. So pretty cool. And I really appreciate that you guys clapped for me on that one, but understand this, I've come to realize that was just simply preparation. That happened to set me up for just a few years ago when Ingrid got a brain infection and nearly died. Seizures, viral encephalitis, brain damage, all sorts of other horrific things, and over the course of 6 months, Judith, through her incredible work in doing things like concentration, focus, and we've been through this at Titan before, but I'm trying to just put everything into context. We're able to get her back to being completely healthy, minor hearing deficits, but in the grand scheme of things, pretty incredible. But what I learned in my experience at 15 years old, I truly believe, has just set the stage for my life, and learning how to focus deeply on one thing, direct all of my attention towards actually having an impact and ultimately making a difference in one person's life, in this case, Ingrid's life. It's so easy to do. It's not about me, it's about her. And I want you to be able to do the same thing. So in order for you to be able to do the same thing for the people in your lives that you love, that you serve, that you care about, we are alive to the degree that we serve, I believe that we need to follow this pathway of radical attention. Radical attention, and this is the framework upon which we build this. We're getting now into science. So I'm not sure if anyone remembers this or not. Great moment in Canadian, so I'll explain this. This is Canadian sports, Toronto. We're in Toronto, so I'm going to talk about the Blue Jays, okay? I'm a mad sports fan. So this is Jose Bautista. This is the playoffs a few years ago, 2015, I think. In the playoffs, in the 7th inning, Jose Bautista hits a home run to win the game and then does a bat flip. Is anyone from Texas here? We're really lucky because it was against the Texas Rangers and they just lost their minds. I was really hoping for that, but it's probably better that they're not here. Here's what he said afterwards. He was interviewed afterwards. And he said, the walk to the plate, my adrenaline wasn't 10 out of 10. It was 10 million out of 10. It was so loud that it was quiet. And all that I could see was the pitcher. Everything else was out of focus. And on the winning pitch, all that I could see was the shoulder, and as a result, I could see the positioning of the fingers on the ball as the ball came over the shoulder, and I knew what pitch was coming, so I hit the home run. And the lesson for all of us is, as pressure increases, shark, broken neck, daughter with viral encephalitis, attention narrows. As pressure increases, attention narrows. In critical moments in your life, when you are under pressure, when you are under the gun, so to speak, when you have to deliver in business, in life, with your family, in illness, in health, whatever, attention must narrow. Here's the mechanism through which that works. There's an MRI scan of the brain. I do a lot of research at the hospital for sick children. I do a lot of MRI research because I just love being able to take pictures of the inside of the body. This is an MRI scan of the brain. The way that this works is your brain has no stored energy. So when you think about things or do tasks, your brain burns sugars in oxygen. That is delivered instantaneously to the parts of your brain that are working through blood. Blood is red. The reason why blood is red is it's full of iron. Iron is magnetic, so you can actually image parts of the brain that are working on magnetic resonance imaging, which is what you're seeing there. Parts of the brain working. Another style of MRI imaging is this. It's phase contrast imaging. And with the little red dots there are blood vessels. This is sliced to the head at the level of the chin. You can see the chin up top, the back of the head around the bottom. Those little red dots are blood vessels. They're smaller than your pinky finger. The blood vessels going in and out of your head are quite small. For context, the one coming out of your heart's the size of your wrist. The one going into your leg is 2 thumbs. The one going into your arm is 1 thumb. The ones going in and out of your head, smaller than a pinky. So you cannot supply the entire brain with blood all at the same time. You can only supply parts of the brain with blood at any given moment. So the concept of multitasking is physiologically impossible. You cannot do it. What you do is task switch very quickly. And when you task switch quickly, it's exhausting. That is why if you've had a very busy day, running around, quote unquote, multitasking, which is not really multitasking, it's task switching, you get home at the end of the day and your brain is absolutely fried. It's because your brain is not designed to do that. Your brain is designed to focus in radical control of your attention. That's when we function at the absolute best. So the question then becomes, how do you actually do this? So I'm trying to now convert the story and the science into actionable items for you. And therefore, we can create this model. So radical attention requires beta brainwaves. Beta brainwaves are what you create when you're concentrating, when you're hustling, when you're focusing. Right now, I am fully in beta because I am trying to deliver. content to you, and I'm thinking and concentrating and working on my voice, and like I'm working on. As you take notes, you are in beta. That's totally fine. We are executing right now. That looks like this. Beta brainwaves are 12 to 25 hertz. That's cycles per second. There's a whole bunch of different ones. Yesterday, Deepak mentioned that sleep was a way for you to have a prelude experience to death. So delta waves, when you sleep, down here at the bottom, are 1 to 4 cycles per second. Obviously, when you're dead, it's 0, so that's pretty close. All right, so sleep, when he says that sleep is crucial, that is absolutely crucial. We'll get to sleep later, but that's delta wave activity down at the bottom. Beta waves, 12 to 25 hertz, that's when you're crushing it. You're up here, you're dominating, you're hustling, you're doing the sales meetings, you're having the conversations. That's delta, that's beta, sorry, that's very, very important. So this is our focused execution pathway that you can use to get into beta on demand to be able to perform at your best and execute on the task that you're focusing on at the highest possible level. The first element is this: your body must be energized, which looks something like what Steve Jobs used to do. When I read Walter Isaacson's biography of Steve Jobs, one of the things that struck me was that he never did meetings sitting down. He did meetings walking around the Apple campus. The meetings where they came up with the idea for the iPod, the iPhone, and the iPad were done walking around the Apple campus. Walking and movement, when you are physically energized, that increases your energy, activates your body, and opens up the possibility for beta wave activity. When we sit children in schools, we shut off their brains and try to teach them. When you are sitting at work, trying to do a spreadsheet, you are shutting off your brain and trying to get your brain to work. You must move in order for your brain to function at its absolute best when it comes to focused execution. We have incredible technologies available to us now. I've got an Apple Watch on, some data that I got from an Apple Watch. This is the activity app where you can check out. At the top, you can see my my calories burned, exercise, standing. This day I did a morning workout. Actually, it was around 4 o'clock in the morning. It was super early. I was on the get ready for the 5 a.m. club. And I did nothing the rest of the day. Just sat at my desk. I do experiments on myself to see what happens. And in this case, I struggled. By the end of the day, I was smoked, like completely fried, brain sizzled, couldn't really function, got home at night, was not a good parent, argued with my kids, like bad, right? Again, I'm just going to tell you all of it. So I realized that was not the way that I wanted to function. So I tried something completely different. Got some rest, and the next day I did this. You can see the contrast. Instead of exercising just a little bit in the morning and then sitting at my desk all day and trying to change the world, I sprinkled physical activity throughout the course of the day. 20 reps at a time. Just a little warrior pose, right? 20 squats, some wrist curls, micro movements. Did anyone notice how many squats Dr. James did during his talk this morning? It's like 80. It's like really impressive, right? It's 2 hours of training while he was delivering a talk for us. Pretty cool. Sprinkle physical activity throughout the course of the day. Microdosing at a time, all the time, not LSD movement. So little tiny things make a huge difference. Here's the data that I want to actually share with you. This just came out recently. I started the day talking about mental health. I want to highlight a few things for you because I think it's so critical. Let me lead you through this graph. What this graph shows is just to let you know how much you actually need to work out. New data. I will make all of these. I'm going to save you a lot of memory on your phones. I will make all of these slides available, okay? So at the end, so that's cool. I'll get them shared, make them all available. So we've got on the y-axis, this is the summary graph over here on the left. On the y-axis, you have mental health burden. So low being good, no mental health burden. At the top, bad, lots of mental health burden. And we have, with no exercise, a high mental health burden. 3 workouts a week, 4 workouts a week, 5 workouts a week, mental health burden decreases and then starts to go up again. And it doesn't matter what you do, cycling, household, popular sports, water sports, walking, jogging, weights, it's all the same pattern. 3, 4, or 5 times a week, If you exercise, your mental health will be optimized. Super straightforward and super simple. On a physiological side, if you're trying to optimize your physical health, our data is about 6 hours a week. But in terms of just purely, I don't want no depression, no anxiety, like just best possible mental health outcomes 3 times a week. And according to the same sort of model and structure, this is the length of each exercise session, with 45 minutes being optimal. So if you're wondering, like, how much exercise do I need to get to make sure that I have a best possible mental health outcomes, 3, 4, or 5 workouts a week, 45 minutes. And you win. If you want to do more, that's fantastic, but contemplate that more may cause you stress. You want to be very careful about that. And here's a really cool video. I showed this last year, but I'm going to highlight it again because I think it's so cool. We do a lot of rock climbing, mountain biking, surfing, and skiing with our kids, especially with Ingrid, because the mind-body connection for all those types of sports, like mental, physical interacting with the environment, was a critical part of her brain healing. So we do a lot of this stuff. So this is Ingrid at the climbing gym, and we do a lot of this sort of stuff. So I want to highlight just something for you here. It's really cool. So she goes, and then she's like, "You have to announce me."
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Ingrid Wells is about to climb all the way to the ceiling.
And she poses
Display.
for everything all the time.
Cool. Before she goes racing, Miss Marissa, on your marks, get set.
And everything's a competition for me. So anyway, she races to the top. And I'm a big fan of fear, challenge, and failure-based activities for children. 8th place trophies are the bane of my existence. I think that's one of the reasons why we have an anxiety epidemic, is because we're not allowed to fail anymore. And so this is really critical for us, not just for her personal brain health, but also as a society to do exercises or activities where there's a chance of failure. So she gets to the bottom here, finishes, and I want you to look very closely, like, look at her face. Happy, confident, proud, energized. Look at her face and contrast the look on her face with the typical look of someone at your gym on the elliptical. Pain, suffering, sacrifice, constipation, like bad, right? Bad. Exercise actually feels good. Physical activity makes your brain work better. You can get happier by working out. A simple rule. Do it for 5 minutes. If you still don't want to do it, you can stop, but you've got to start. Just do 5 minutes, and then you never stop after that. And if you want the simplest thing to do, walking. Walking has tremendous physiologic benefits. 15 minutes of walking a day will cut your risk of cancer by 40%. It doesn't even need to be hard, and it doesn't need to be that long. 15 minutes of walking consistently decrease your risk of cancer 40%. Incredibly powerful stuff. So that's the body, which leads us into the mind, which must be engaged. If you want to activate this pathway, radical attention, beta brainwaves, concentration, hustle, focus, domination of your craft in the execution moment, the mind must be engaged. This is a beautiful example of that. Right, this is Ingrid on the beach in Nicaragua. Just fantastic example of a mind and body that are operating at the highest possible level in that moment. Isn't that incredible? Like, imagine if you could have more of that as a metaphor in your life. And it can be anything that you are into, whatever your passion is. I had these shoes made this year to remind myself of what I need to do on the way into the gym. I just had that drawn into the back of my shoes. So when I put them on, I know what I'm doing. That's my strength training shoes, and I've got running shoes where my kids' initials are on the back. So I'm either running to keep myself alive, AMP kinase gets released during walk, run, jog, swim, bike activities, which extends your lifespan, or I'm working on my mind and my health in strength training because strength training releases mTOR, which extends your health span, how long you live without a chronic disease. So that's the strategy behind those 2 little hacks to get me to do more of those. So that is body, mind, and then I really have to share something really powerful with you that I've discovered. And this is new, I haven't talked about this before, but it's music. Especially live music. We saw Tim played a song the other day when we first arrived, and I was actually in tears, like just incredible. And the effect of music on our minds is incredible, especially if you want to improve your brain's capacity to execute in the moment. It's really quite wild. So let me demonstrate a little bit about how this works. We can crank up the music. I took Ingrid to a concert recently, and by the way, if you're going to a concert, just suck it up and buy front row tickets, because it's like so much better, especially if your daughter has never been to a concert before and it's her first concert, and you're trying to brainwash her into liking the same music that you like so that you can just have a better time at home, right? So I drag Ingrid. She's been complaining a lot about me traveling, so I took Ingrid to a concert the night before I was leaving to buy myself 3 or 4 days of child happiness so I could go to work in a different city. So I went to Bryan Adams, and this is Ingrid at the front row watching Bryan Adams play. It's very, very short. So just like watch her, watch him, and just check out the absolute incredible impact that music has upon her psychology and her physiology. Is that super cool? Just here, just start bouncing. Her energy level was off the charts. So I got home from that, and I started to look at the research, and I found these 2 papers. And what I found was that music actually affects the regions of your brain associated with emotions, the limbic system that Deepak was talking about yesterday. It's primal for us. It's so powerful. It leads through pathways that also are involved with depression if they're negatively functioning. So, and the bond at the bottom left shows that if you listen to music consistently or study music, it remodels your brain. So if you add music to your life, we actually remodel our brains to function at a higher level. So please, I travel with my, sorry, I just sprayed my stuff all over the ground. Anyway, travel with good headphones. Listen to good music in your car. Buy good speakers at your house. Contemplate a dinner party with good music versus no music, right? It's very, very powerful for you. Just make the investment. You can actually see Ingrid wearing these things in there to protect her ears. They were on noise canceling. It didn't work. So here's the pathways that I found. That's the pathway on the left. It's activated by music. Goes through your cochlea in your ear, through the auditory nerve, into the basal centers of your brain. That's what Deepak was talking about yesterday. The very, very early centers of the brain, up into and through your limbic system, which is the emotional center of your brain. It is so fundamental to us as humans. You can use music to completely amplify your life. Imagine listening to great psych-up music on your way to work if you've got a crush it that day, right? Like AC/DC or whatever fires you up. That's awesome. Or in the office, putting on a concert that you can listen to so you can drop into deep, deep focus. And on the way home, maybe listening to jazz or classical to calm yourself down as part of your transition ritual to make sure that you have a break between what you do during the day and what you actually execute at night. You can powerfully use music. And I also found in this research, when we look at it, you can see that there's the 7 C's of music. These are documented effects that music has upon us individually and as a society. So contact. When we are in music, we are having actual contact with social contact with other human beings. It dramatically increases your cognition, the function of your brain. Copathy, which is empathy shared with others. It increases empathy for others, and we know we need so much more of this in our world right now. Communication, because music involves communication, sharing of lyrics, sharing of emotion, sharing of ideas. We have cooperation, because you can't play music, well, you can play music alone if you're Tim, which is incredible, but when we have a band together and an audience, there's a shared experience of what's happening, which creates greater cohesion. So on this note, I'm going to show you a little bit later in that same song, there's about 40 seconds, watch Ingrid's physiology. You'll see the guitar player, and you'll actually see it reflected in Ingrid about a second later. It's like a delayed mirror. It's just incredible. Check this out. God, my life is so cool. Bryan Adams gave her the pick and the set list. Cool, eh? She now thinks that's a normal concert experience, which is a problem. So he's coming back in January. Yes, I had to get seats in the same spot. She's like, I'm going to wear the same dress. I want more guitar stuff. Anyway, whatever. Someday she's going to discover that's not reality, but that's okay. I remember when Shaq was talking about his kids and telling the story about his 18-year-old daughter who went shopping for the first time when she turned 18, swiped her card, it was rejected, and she called him to complain about her card being rejected, and he said, oh, you don't know? I'm rich. You're not rich. So, not that I'm rich by any stretch of the imagination, but at some point reality will catch up to her. But until then, we're just going to have this magical life, whatever. And I'm going to have a blast.